Yes, Joe.
Vice Chair Nugent, we're ready to begin.
Welcome to this regular meeting of the Planning Commission this Tuesday evening, November 12th. I will now call this meeting to order. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ashley, please call roll.
Yes. Chair Patel is absent. Vice Chair Nugent.
Present.
Commissioner Abnetter.
Present.
Commissioner Clafter.
Present.
And Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Good evening and welcome. We are excited to be here in person with options for virtual participation. Our conference ID is 848-7338-6417, and the passcode is 188645. For those attending in person, please complete a yellow request to speak slip and hand it to the clerk. If participating remotely, use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and you will be called on at an appropriate time. If calling via phone, press 9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press 6 to unmute. These options for public comment will remain available until I close public comment period for that specific item. And finally, we welcome speakers providing public comment, but please be advised this is a limited public forum. As such, speakers must stay on topic if speaking to a particular agenda item. If speakers fail to follow these rules, they will be warned, and if they continue to disregard our rules, their opportunity to speak will be ended. Ashley, please read the consent calendar.
Yes. Item number 1, Planning Commission meeting minutes approval. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 23rd, 2024. And item number 2, Planning Commission 2025 regular meeting calendar adoption.
Thank you. Is there any member of the commission who would like to pull any item from the consent calendar? If any members of the public wishes to comment on any consent calendar item, now would be the time to make your comment. This is for consent calendar items only. All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
All right, Ashley, can we get a...
Okay. Also, I just wanted to confirm we don't have any public commenters.
Thank you.
At this time. But as for the vote, Chair Patel is absent. Vice Chair Nugent.
Yes.
Commissioner Nutter,
Yes.
Commissioner Clafter,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. Members of the public wishing to comment on any item not appearing on the agenda may address the Planning Commission at this time. State law prevents the Commission from taking action on any matter not on the agenda. Your comments may be referred to staff for follow-up. Public comment is generally limited to a total of 15 minutes. However, this is subject to the Commission's discretion and can be extended if the Commission wishes to do so. We generally will have speakers, when there's less than 10 speakers, provide 3 minutes. And if a speaker goes beyond the time limit, it is up to me as the chair to interject and as they deem appropriate. Ashley, do we have any speakers for general public comment?
Yes, we have one public speaker at this time, so the timer will be set at 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, David, you can go ahead and speak.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. My name is David Agronovich. I'm a resident of the Bay Meadows community in San Mateo. I understand we have a discussion point on the Bay Meadows community later today, but the issue I was hoping to raise is unrelated to that. We in the community were recently notified of the planned resumption in parking enforcement in the Bay Meadows neighborhood, and completely understand the need to resume that enforcement after the pause during the COVID period. However, on behalf of the residents in the neighborhood, I did want to share some concerns and hope that the committee could consider potential remedies for a subset of use cases where the parking enforcement resumption may cause issues. We know that the community is designed to be walkable and minimally reliant on transit. However, we also did note that during that COVID parking pause, many of the families in the community grew to include young children. People moved into the neighborhood because of its proximity to parks and activities. And as a result, many of those families now rely on a combination of family members, in-home nanny help, as well as for our older members of the community, in-home nursing care. We understand that the resumption in parking will not include any form of visitor permits or resident permits, and visitor parking in the community is very limited. But there's only, I think, 3 spots for about 100 plus units. And so there's a lot of concern among the community about how we'll be able to maintain those support structures for both our youngest and oldest members of our families at a point where none of the parking in the neighborhood is accessible for longer than 2 hours. So we'd like to petition the committee to consider options where we may be able to have some form of limited resident or visitor parking permits that would enable people living in the community to have, for example, one care member of their household during daytime hours be able to park in excess of those 2-hour limitations. We'd be happy to expand on our concerns, but I think the core piece is simply that for many of us, the ability to continue caring for our families in a neighborhood that we really love is somewhat at risk with the additional parking restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Again, that's not something we'll act on tonight, but we will refer it to staff for further review.
And Vice Chair Nugent, we don't have any more public commenters at this time.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will have our public hearing. Item 3, Bay Meadows Phase 2 Development Agreement Annual Report for Year 18, 2023. We will start with a staff presentation, applicant presentation, and public comments. Members of the public are given 2 to 3 minutes to speak, depending on the number of speakers. The applicant may also be given 5 minutes at the end to respond to the public comments. Once the public hearing is closed, the chair may ask staff to respond to any public comments, and the commission will ask clarifying questions, deliberate, and render a decision. Manira, will you be providing the presentation?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Good evening, honorable commissioners. My name is Manira Sandhir. I'm the planning manager with the city. I will be doing a brief verbal presentation this time. Most of the information is already covered in the agenda report that was included in the packet. The item before you tonight is the development agreement annual review for the Bay Meadows Phase 2 project, which was an 83-acre transit-oriented development that redeveloped the former Bay Meadows racetrack. This development agreement was originally approved by City Council in 2005, and it was set to expire in December of 2023. However, the Planning Commission and through a recommendation from the Planning Commission and the City Council, ultimately approved a 3-year extension until December of 2026. The site, the 83-acre site, is subdivided into 18 development blocks with 5 office blocks, 4 mixed-use blocks, and 9 residential blocks. And all of these have been built with the exception of the mixed-use blocks 2 and 3, which were approved by the Planning Commission in 2021. These blocks have not yet been built because of delays associated with the pandemic and the subsequent financial slowdown, and therefore the applicant had requested and sought that 3-year extension. The hearing before you tonight is because all development agreements are required to undergo an annual review by the Planning Commission, and this hearing is to cover year 18 of the development agreement, which runs from December of 2022 to December of 2023. No milestones were required for completion during this year, but the applicant did complete office station blocks in 2022 and 2023, which are currently undergoing tenant improvements in both these buildings. Another building that was completed, which was under construction in 2023, was the Residential 6 building, which is a 50 apartment and 4 townhome unit development, and that was completed earlier this year. Therefore, the applicant has made progress on the development agreement. I know there was a public commenter in another part of the agenda that raised a parking issue. That's not on the agenda tonight, but if there are members of the public who want to follow up with city staff, they can reach out to me, or they can also reach out to our public works staff, JU and Nicolette Chen, for more information about the parking enforcement. But at this point, the applicant has complied with the terms of the development agreement, and staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution finding that the Bay Meadows main track investors has complied in good faith for the review period between December 21st, 2022 and December 20th, 2023. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have an applicant presentation for this? No? Oh, okay. Or do you? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Commission and staff. Thank you for your time. My name is Chuck Knoll. I'm with Wilson Meany. We did not prepare a presentation. There hasn't been drastic changes at Bay Meadows since we saw you last year. As Manera said, the Hawthorne was under construction in 23 and completed in May of this year, and has been very successful and is fully leased. Roblox has taken occupancy in 2 of the new office buildings just recently within the last few weeks. And so they have now fully occupied 3 of the 5 office buildings. And that's probably the biggest change in the neighborhood is there's people on the street again. They're walking between buildings. They're walking back and forth to Franklin Templeton campus. It's really changed the dynamic. We are in the permit plan check cycle for MU blocks 2 and 3. The permits are ready for issuance. We're just trying to tie up a few things with our arborists and tree protection and encroachment permits, but we should have permits fully ready probably by the end of this month, and then we will be shovel ready. And so once the market turns, we are hopefully ready to react as soon as possible. So we would love to finish up those 2 blocks. Any questions or?
We might have questions after the conclusion of this, after we open up to public comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any members of the public that would like to comment? Please turn in a yellow speaker slip or raise your hand on the Zoom. Do we have anybody that is interested in commenting?
Vice Chair Nugent, we have no public commenters in person, and we don't have any hands raised on Zoom, so no
Okay.
public commenters today.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we can open it up to commissioner questions. Does any member of the commission have questions for this item?
I have a couple, as usual.
Sure.
Just clarifying questions. They're nothing major, but I notice, so in the table at the end of the packet, where all the requirements are listed and then the due dates and the status, there are a number of things that are listed as ongoing, and I'm assuming that just means that they're ongoing until the completion of the full term.
That is correct.
Okay, I just thought I'd clarify that for the record, kind of. Let me see if I had anything else. I was also, again, it's just kind of my own personal curiosity, I guess. What was the time frame for the extension that was requested, and where are we in that? I recall that that was a while ago, but I don't remember when.
Yes, the applicant had requested a 3-year extension, so the development agreement would have originally expired in December of 2023, but with the extension, it now expires in December of 2026. So the applicant has about 2 years to complete the
Okay.
terms of the development agreement.
Thanks. I know you covered that, but I just didn't catch it all. So thank you. Also, I guess as I went through this, I just had one last question. And there was an item on a green building demonstration project, and that's, I think, all completed. And so, yeah, that was completed right away. So is that the only lead building in the project, in the whole project? Are there any other lead buildings that have been done? Would be nice if there was more than just the one.
I think almost all of them are. I know for a fact all of the 5 office buildings are LEED Gold.
Okay.
And there are LEED certifications on most of the residential buildings, but I'm not as familiar with those.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear that, because I thought that there were more. I mean, I've seen the signs as I've been in the area, and
I
it's
think
like,
that initial is, or that initial was a proof out. Can we build one of
Yeah.
the buildings? And so, but we have pursued LEED certification on all the
great.
buildings.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I thought one building, I bet there's more than that. So I'm glad to hear that. They're great. Yeah, I'm glad I asked. Yeah, I mean, I would just say my comment would just be congratulations for, getting to this point and getting near the finish line with, especially with these last buildings. So, oh, and I guess congratulations on the leased spaces
Yes, yes.
is what I meant to say.
It's nice to see life back in the neighborhood and people
Yeah,
moving around.
absolutely.
And so,
Those are all my questions, and I guess my comments too.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Williams. Let's open it up to Commissioner Clafter. Do you have any comments?
I think the only thing I had been wondering when I was looking over the packet and stuff was in light of, some of the recent developments here in the city in terms of the opportunity for increased density, if that was something that might be under consideration on these sites. But it sounds like the plan is to continue with the previous proposal.
At this time, we do not have anything in plans. Being that this just came, we'll look at it and see, but we don't have plans to make any changes at this time.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Ebneter?
Through the chair. It looks like the project has turned out probably better than anyone could have anticipated over 20 years ago. And it's always been such a high-quality product that you've put on that space or the development. And with the sustainability and the union contracts that have been used throughout, I think it really shows that you were dedicated to a high-quality workforce, which marries with the sustainable component and a high-quality product. So I think it's really a model that could be emulated elsewhere. We don't have 83 acres free, of course, available, but the way the whole project came together through the workforce and with the sustainability issues, I think really is something to be proud of. So thank you for going those routes.
Well, thank you, and we are very proud of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ebneter. Anybody have anything else they want to add? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I just want to second what Commissioner Ebneter said, and I love visiting the Bay Meadows area. So I'm excited to see the final touches be completed over the next few years. From here, do we have just to call a recommendation, or do we need to do a vote? A vote, okay.
Yes, there'd have to be a motion, and it's on the agenda, the recommended, staff recommended language on adopting the resolution.
Okay. All right. So would anybody like to make a motion to adopt a resolution finding that the Bay Meadows Main Track Investors LLC has complied in good faith with the terms of the Bay Meadows Phase 2 Development Agreement for the review period between December 21st, 2022 to December 20th, 2023?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, can we get a vote?
Yes. Chair Patel is absent. Vice Chair Nugent.
Yes.
Commissioner Ebneter.
Yes.
Commissioner Klafter.
Yes.
And Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
All right, it looks like that passes 4-0. I think we are on to reports and announcements now. Are there any other reports or announcements from staff or the city attorney?
Yes, I have a few, since it has been a bit of a break that we've had between Planning Commission meetings. Really appreciate everybody coming in today. I know we had a really heavy meeting schedule at the start of this year, and then it paused a little bit in fall. Staff has been using that time to make a lot of process improvements within the planning division. We've updated the What's Happening page, and we've also initiated a development review process assessment. So a lot happening behind the scenes, even though we haven't had a lot of Planning Commission meetings lately. A few staffing updates as well. So we have filled 3 vacant positions in the planning division, and our staff was also at the APA conference last month. And I know there are a number of legislative updates that are coming down the pike that will take effect on January 1st. So we look at training our commissioners on how some of those may apply in the city. Everybody's probably aware of the Measure T passage. So that happened last week. That does now make sure that our general plan can be implemented the way it was adopted, and staff will be developing some FAQs and guidance materials because while we have a general plan that's adopted now and if in effect with Measure T, it'll take us some time to update the zoning ordinance and create standards for those higher densities and intensities that would be allowed in certain parts of the city. So that'll be in the works over the coming weeks. In terms of projects, we do have a few large projects still going through the staff reviews. Fish Market is one of them. We are still working on CEQA for that project. On the Bespoke project, we had published the initial study mitigated neg deck a month ago. However, based on council direction, staff is continuing to work with the applicant team on the development agreement and the development disposition and loan agreements. So those documents are still under work, so we do not have a public hearing time scheduled yet. And then the Block 20 project was revised from being a full block project to a partial block project, so the scope changed, and that is also currently under review. With the passage of Measure T, we also expect a number of projects to come forward as folks were waiting to see the results of that initiative. In terms of upcoming Planning Commission meetings, so our next meeting, which is the week of Thanksgiving on November 26th, would be canceled. We are still looking at a potential item for the December 10th meeting, so please hold on to that date. We'll let you know if things change, but we are trying to get one of our bundled zoning code amendments for housing element implementation to the Planning Commission on that date. So it'll either be December 10th or one of the January meetings. Historic ordinances, we had gone through an RFP process, and we'll be scheduling something before City Council in January to look at a potential historic ordinance update and a historic context statement. This would be one of the first steps along the general plan implementation for the community design element. In terms of Planning Commission trainings, thank you to all the commissioners for completing your ethics training. I got the signed copy for one of you today, so really appreciate you staying on top of those. Ashley just reminded me that we also have the Planning Commissioners Academy coming up in March. The dates for that would be March 5th through the 7th in Santa Rosa. So if you'd like to block those on your calendar. It isn't yet available for registration, but we'll share that information as soon as it opens, so that we can take advantage of some of the early bird rates and get the commissioners registered for that conference. I think that concludes staff's presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any reports or announcements from the commission? I want to say thank you to staff. I feel like we crossed the finish line on the general plan that we've been working on for over 6 years. It's a huge milestone, and it's a relief, like after being done with the race, and it's also just a bright spot in the election. So just. So pleased with everything that happened. So thank you for all the work that you did to get that finished. Anybody else? Anything? All right.
I wanted to make sure that I came this evening to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yes, happy
If I don't see you
Thanksgiving.
until next year, have a great Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we'll be here in December, but we'll see.
Yes. All right. Well, that adjourns the meeting.
Thank you.
Good job.